bipartisan crap weasels on both sides of the aisle. Look, so many Republicans were elected. They had one job, repeal Obamacare.
That's all.
And that's it. And it's fairly clear to most ordinary Americans what repeal means. The problem with what's happening in the Senate now stems back to the House Republicans, who couldn't agree on a straight repeal. The repeal that they offered up during the Obama years. That was clear and that made sense and that did what they promised to do. But so many of these swamp creatures overpromise and underdeliver.
And you're talking about Republicans when you refer to swamp creatures.
I absolutely am. And of course, I'm talking as somebody who has been an out-of-the-closet conservative journalist for more than 25 years. So the idea that it's a surprise that they can't get their acts together before July 4th is ridiculous. In fact, it is very predictable, Michelle, for those of us who watched the Republican establishment.
You know, in reality, I know what your type of health care reform would be as a conservative. I get that. But in reality, if they do a clean repeal and a clean replace, they needed 60 votes. Are you saying they should have just forgot about, just not worried about not getting the 60 votes instead of trying to finesse something through to get 52 or to get 51?
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying about pragmatism, Brian, but this is about keeping promises. And with regards to being a conservative and what I think health care reform should be, I speak not from an ideological viewpoint here, but as somebody who had 3 private individual market plans canceled under Obamacare. And it's a matter of emphasis and priorities, okay? We had 8 years of Obama and liberal progressive Democrats who foisted this idea that forcing people to go on insurance plans was going to make everything great for everyone, when millions of people in the market that I belong to saw their health care taken away. Why is it that Republicans in Washington have to kneel and capitulate and allow liberal progressive Democrats to dictate the terms of the policy debate here?
Michelle, I'm with you. My daughter's on Obamacare, and so many of the Democrats are talking about Obamacare fondly as if it's the gold standard. But the problem for the Republicans in the Congress right now is because if they fail to undo Obamacare, whatever it is, conservative voters are never going to trust them again. Never, ever, ever. They were elected, many of them, for this one job. And right now it doesn't look like they're going to, unlike Larry the Cable Guy, not going to get her done.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, Steve. And you know what? They will face those consequences, and they deserve those consequences.
Michelle, are you okay with it?
If these conservative Republicans continue to hammer the point home about the losses and consequences of the impact of this government intervention on ordinary working Americans who don't want handouts, if they were leading, then we'd get there.
But the thing is, Michelle, everything you're saying is correct. But in reality, they're not all conservatives on the right. There are moderates, and they are going to put their weight in. And there's only 52 votes. Remember, President Obama had 60. That's the only reason he got it passed. He barely got that done. So in reality, how do you get the 8 more Democratic votes? Well, do you just put something out there that will fail?
Yeah, well, if it were me, I would emphasize again that this isn't just about Medicaid. And look, President Trump won because he understood that there were warped priorities in Washington, that the forgotten men and women of America. And that's what we're talking about here when we talk about the impact that this massive Obamacare plan had on people whose health care was taken away.
Right.
All right, we want to move on and talk about what happened in the briefing room yesterday. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was standing at the podium. She was standing in for Sean Spicer because she's the deputy press secretary. And she has kind of a heated exchange with one of the reporters in the audience. She was talking about how, hey, you all want to talk about Russia, Russia, Russia. We need to talk about what really matters. We need to talk about tax reform and health care and so on and so on. And so this one reporter gets upset and says, you're just inflaming all of us. Listen to this exchange and then we'll talk about it. I want to hear your reaction to this.
Everybody, right here, right now, with those words. This administration has done that as well. Why in the name of heavens? Any one of us, right, are replaceable, and any one of us, if we don't get it right, the audience has the opportunity to turn the channel or not read us. You have been elected to serve for 4 years at least. There's no option other than that. We're here to ask you questions.
I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed, it's the dishonesty that often takes place by the...
On the CNN story, which they had to apologize for.
Yeah, that's right. I think that Sarah Huckabee Sanders did a great job there of standing up to a so-called reporter who was essentially a political operative, and the inflammation is coming from these journalists who are acting in such a partisan manner and pretending
It's fighting terrorism, 29 minutes, Obamacare repeal and replace 17 minutes, and the economy and jobs, which are always important, only 5 minutes. You know, it would be one thing, Michelle, if there was some there regarding Russia and collusion, but there just hasn't been any proof that there is any.
Yeah, well, Russia-itis certainly has infected so much of the mainstream media elite. And I learned a useful phrase recently. Apparently, the Russian phrase for fake news is Podolye novosti. How's that for my pronunciation?
Hashtag what?
Podolye novosti.
Right.
I know I'm going to get a million tweets about my awful pronunciation.
Are you shocked that the next topic they spent a lot of time on was climate change?
Of course not. These are narrative shapers and narrative warpers. And meanwhile, there's so much injustice. There's so many other real stories going on in the world. But these people have an agenda, and they refuse to admit it. And I have to give a shout out to James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, who've been exposing that. They did yesterday, which is why it was the subject of the White House press briefing, and of course of a lot of consternation among the people who'd rather cover their bias up.
Well, and a producer was exposed, and you could see that everywhere. A producer was exposed on camera, not denied by CNN, coming out and saying that they don't see any Russian angle, but they're told to push it forward because it means ratings.
BS. Yeah.
That's right, and there's more coming.
Oh, really?
Really?
Interesting stuff. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
Always a pleasure. Have a good week.
Hey, Jillian. Jillian has some headlines for you at home.
That's right, and some news that's affecting a lot of people this morning. So let's get right to this Fox News alert. A deadly accident at one of the nation's busiest railroad systems. We've just learned 2 railroad employees hit and killed by a train just outside Washington, D.C.'s Union Station. An investigation has been launched into why they were on the tracks. Amtrak now dealing with massive delays in the Northeast Corridor. Stay with Fox and Friends for any updates. We'll keep you posted. And to another Fox News alert, a brazen attack on a Supreme Court building overnight. A stolen police helicopter flying overhead and firing grenades in Venezuela. The nation's president calling it a terror attack. Government officials say a rogue police officer was flying the chopper. Violent anti-government protests have been raging for months in the socialist country, leading to dozens of deaths. Also breaking at this hour, Iran just weighing in on President Trump's partially reinstated travel order. The world's #1 state sponsor of terror calling it, quote, racist and unfair. On Monday, the Supreme Court allowed President Trump to forge ahead with a limited version of his order on immigrants from Iran, Syria, Sudan, Yemen, Libya, and Somalia. The justices will hear full arguments in October. All right, here's a question. Who puts the President of the United States on hold? Ireland. President Trump waited for more than a minute and a half while calling to congratulate the new prime minister. Ireland's youngest ever, by the way. He is an open critic of President Trump. You can see him there in those pictures. Just I'm waiting, to congratulate him.
So the question is whether or not he did that on purpose. If he was not a,
don't have
not a
that
fan,
answer.
probably.
I'm going to talk to my people in my family tree and find out. Meanwhile, straight ahead, President Trump's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, said while the president is busy making America great again, the media just can't stop talking about Russia. Ed Henry is here with a preview of an exclusive interview next. So Ed Henry had an exclusive, and he's going to share it with us, according to reports. We have an exclusive idea of what Ed Henry's exclusive report is going to be like. Am I right, Ed?
Yeah, it's something like that. Look, you were just talking about the media concentration on Russia, Russia, Russia. Gary Cohn is one of the president's top advisors. He focuses on the economy, but has a broad agenda. He's leading what they call Energy Week this week for the administration. I'll get to that in a minute. He's also pushing forward on tax reform and says that despite the stumbles on health care in recent days, he still believes the president is a master negotiator who's going to get a deal here. And he told me yesterday on the North Lawn of the White House that despite what the media is talking about, this administration is moving forward. Watch.
Look, the media can talk about what they want to talk about. We're going to execute on our agenda. That's what we've been doing. We've been going through methodically. We've been repealing much of the overburdensome regulation that's been going on. We've been talking about what we want to talk about. We've been executing on what we want to execute upon. We've been meeting every day with tax people. We've been meeting with listening groups. I've got another listening group today talking about taxes, talking about a tax bill, talking about what we need in this country to drive taxes to a place that stimulates economic growth. We're going to do that.
And while they're still working with Congress on a tax deal, they're mostly focused at the White House on stripping away government regulations that he says, particularly in the energy industry, will create jobs.
Well, the president is focused on energy dominance. You know, we're in a unique position in this country. It's been since 1953 since we were an energy exporter in this country. Think about that. We're no longer dependent on other countries to be willing to sell us energy. We're now in a position where we can take care of ourselves. Not only can we take care of ourselves, we can export energy out of the United States, and we can take care of other nations around the world. That puts us in a unique position.
Let me give you a quick example. Gary Cohn says the White House was approached by a company out west that's been wanting to build a copper mine. It's been turned down twice by the federal government. He says there's tens of thousands of jobs here in America at stake. I asked him, how long has this been, delayed by the government? Is it months? Is it a couple of years? He said it's more than a decade that this company has been trying to build a copper mine. And because of environmental regulations, other regulations have been held up. They're not guaranteeing it's going to go through, but they're taking another look at it right now. That's a lot of jobs at stake, guys.
Yeah, and also the energy. We're not going to be dependent on other countries, which is huge.
Love that.
It could be a big national security issue, no doubt.
Thank you, Fracking.
Good to see you guys.
Good job, Ed.
All right, Ed.
Meanwhile, they made their first national appearance on Fox and Friends.
All right, time for your news by the numbers, 24 minutes after the top of the hour. First, 120 days. That's how long a college student could spend behind bars after admitting to submitting voter registration forms on behalf of dead people. Andrew Spiels has been working for a political organization affiliated with Democrats ahead of the presidential election and now in trouble. Next, $14.6 billion. That's the unpaid backlog in debt held by the state of Illinois. Oh, right. And it's only expected to get bigger. And that could impact lottery winners. They have to wait to collect their loot. An official says it's because players should be confident the lottery will be able to pay winning claims. Otherwise, you're not going to play. They're not going to pay. And finally, $2.21. That's how much drivers around the country are expected to pay for a gallon of gas this holiday weekend, according to a special app called Gas Buzzy. That's the fourth lowest of 4th of July prices in nearly 17 years. And if you're going to make a trip, that is a good deal.
They are one of the most successful country bands around, and their success, it is just getting bigger thanks to Brian.
All right, and after 4 months of relentless harassing, I had a chance to interview Brian Kelly and Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line behind the scenes at one of their recent shows at Jones Beach. Here's what it looked like.
But if I told you I love you, would it make you want to stay?
Who would you call your sound?
Yeah, the moon comes up and the sun goes down.
That FGL sound, baby.
It's not FGL, man.
When people say you're an overnight success, Brian, is that true?
Definitely not. It feels like it, sometimes, but man, we put a lot of work into what we've done and what we've built.
We met or started doing this music thing in 2009, so just to put it into perspective.
Now you're selling out stadiums. You have had more downloads to the single Cruise. That's the single biggest download song ever in the history of country music. Do you think it would have been possible without your first national appearance when you had short hair and you had long hair right here on Fox and Friends? Do you remember that day?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a while, but we definitely remember Fox and Friends. Kind of a little reminder of how far we've come and, how thankful we are to be here and how grateful we are for you guys and our fans.
A song that put you over the top? That said, I arrived?
I mean, obviously Cruise, but I think Holy was probably the next one.
You're holy, 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 holy. I'm high on loving you.
It's connected us to our fans in a different way. It's a spiritual love song. It's something that we get to sing to our wives every night. That song is healing to a lot of people too, so it's pretty special.
Christian music is a little bit where you guys started, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, man, we started in church leading worship together. So
imagine that.
Now you have a chance to, in your last album, you combine with a lot of different artists.
It's still mind-blowing, to be honest, that we're part of the country music community, and then, even bigger, just great music in general. All the Backstreet Boys, Nelly, all these guys we've got to work with.
Monday Night Football, we're going to be looking at you guys. Can you give us an idea what we're going to be seeing? Hank is back, Hank Jr. is back, and so are you. What kind of collaboration is this?
Man, it was a huge collaboration, something that we were blown away that we were able to be a part of, and I'm just going to say, man, we took an iconic, historic song that we grew up listening to, Hank screaming, "Are you ready for some football?" We took that song, man, and took it to the next level.
Are you ready for the country? Are you ready for me?
Kyle, you're about to be a dad.
I am, yeah. Me and my wife, we're so excited, man. We're going to have a Christmas baby. So we just found out it's a boy. So, yeah, we're pretty amped for sure.
Have you thought about, Brian, what is it like growing up with this type of fame and this success while still trying to grow a family and have a sense of normalcy?
I think we both, with both of our families, try to bring, a lot of balance to our lives. We've got amazing wives. We've got a bunch of dogs out on the road with us. And I think just staying centered, and true to ourselves, true to our roots, true to the way we were raised by our families, and keep doing our thing. Growth is a great thing if it's in the right direction. So we're always trying to evolve, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, as songwriters or venturing into movies or whatever it may be, whiskey and restaurants. We like to think of ourselves as hopefully young entrepreneurs.
Tell me about the restaurant.
FGL House, man. It's a great location, 4 levels, a lot of fun, you know what I'm saying?
I'm definitely going to need some type of gift certificate or 25% off.
You have to come visit. I would get you the little VIP card.
I'd love to, and I'm going to rip off my sleeves just so I feel like I'm welcome.
Yeah.
We've got to do one of the diner segments at that place.
Yeah. That would be very interesting, but I think that it's closed at that time. I don't know if they serve breakfast, but special thanks to Jessica Jensen for setting that up. That was unbelievable for them to do that, and Brian and Tyler, nicest guys around.
I love that they take their wives on the road with them, because that's a good thing, so they don't get in trouble. And they grew up in church together.
Right. They're fundamentally Christians before they're musicians.
Awesome. That song, Holy, you have to listen to it if you haven't heard it. You have to download it. It is one of my favorite songs. It's such a sweet song.
Absolutely. And Cruise, the biggest download in country music history, they premiered right here on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, and we told them to stay together.
And they listened. They're the one group that listened to us. All right, that was great.
We tried to tell the Beatles. They still went their own way.
Yes, they did.
Steve, what's coming up?
Meanwhile, she lied about the deadly Benghazi attack on all 5 Sunday shows, as you know, but now Susan Rice says she is a victim.
And he went...
Well, he just told us he did some bad stuff when he was growing up in the Bronx, eventually wound up joining the Navy SEALs, and now he's starring in one of Hollywood's biggest summer hits.
To protect Earth from what was destined to arrive.
Optimus Prime, you destroyed your home. Do you seek redemption?
My maker, I do.
Actor and I Am Second spokesman Remy Adeleke now opening up about his incredible transformation, and he joins us now. Good morning, Remy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Before you're serving in Hollywood, thanks for your service for us.
Thank you.
In the military.
Thank you.
How did that shape you from how you grew up to what you became?
It definitely provided me with the discipline that I so desperately needed. I didn't have a father growing up in the Bronx, and so I needed to learn how to be a man. I needed to learn about teamwork, communication, leadership, and discipline, and those all.
Because when you were a young man, you were doing some bad stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was out there just trying to follow the trend and be like my friends, and be like what was.
So how'd you wind up in the Navy?
In 2000, well, I I was inspired through films. Honestly, it was through 2 films that inspired me to be. So Bad Boys and The Rock. And then when I was in 20, I was getting involved in some bad stuff, and so I made the decision that if I don't leave, I'm gonna end up in trouble. So essentially, I left and joined the military.
Took responsibility for your life.
Absolutely.
Proud of you. You did drugs. You're running scams in the Bronx. Now you're an actor. You've been a Navy SEAL. That's awesome.
Yes,
Tell us about the I Am Second campaign.
I Am Second is a media ministry where they take common people, celebrities, athletes, and they share their stories of faith of what it took for them to come to Christ. And so I've been connected to I Am Second since 2010 because I used their films on my second deployment as a lay leader. And so they found out about me. And
was it your faith that got you through, that turned your life of drugs into serving our country?
No. You know, that didn't come until later in life. You know, it didn't come until I hit rock bottom. Right. And then I cried out to the Lord.
Different priorities.
I think we have a clip of that.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
Yeah.
I was constantly bombarded with this message that said, you're a young African-American male, you need to be a thug or you need to be a hustler. My mom would take my brother and I to the movies to detach from our life. Michael Bay's film, The Rock, came out, and I was just blown away by this portrayal of men who were going in to go sacrifice themselves to save others. I thought, if I was to ever turn my life around, that's what I would do.
Wow, so that's powerful. And then also you got into movies because of fortuitous moments. Someone spotted you. You just got out of the military.
Yeah, there was a woman who cast me in a TV show 3 years earlier, Catherine Humphrey, and she remembered me when Michael Bay was casting for Transformers, gave me a call, and next thing you know, I'm in the film and doing commercials.
Did you have any theater training before that when you met her?
Prior to, well, when I met her initially, no. In 2013, no. I had no acting experience at all when I met her in 2013.
Well, Transformers isn't Shakespeare. They want your athleticism, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
And that thing moves, that movie.
Yeah, but you do have to have some acting chops, though.
But you didn't. When you arrived at the audition, everybody, the actors are all studying their lines, and you didn't have any, and so they just said, give a speech, right?
Yeah, that was at the theater audition when I was auditioning for a play, and I just started talking as if I would talk in a situation.
What did you talk about?
What'd you say?
It was actually,
you remember?
Yeah, they were asking me to improv, giving a speech as a pastor to an audience that was going through a certain.
You're like, I can do this.
1-800-Corinthians, I'm in, baby. So, and like Steve, you're also advertising for, you're promoting Jockey?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm part of the Show 'em Jockey campaign, just like my brother Steve over
That's
here.
right.
And that launched 2 weeks ago, and you can see me on their website, video content for jockey.com, as well as ads in magazines and
there you go.
Magazine
I think we have Steve up next, right?
You know what? I'm actually featured on another website.
You'll be on the next campaign, I promise.
All right.
Well, you have quite a resume. My gosh,
Thank
you've
you.
done a lot.
Appreciate it.
Move over, Jim
And I asked, I said, are you going to see your mom when you're here? Go up to the Bronx and see your mom? And you said, I moved her out to California to help me with the kids.
Yeah, she's out there with, well, she's on a plane right now flying. Well, no, she flew back this morning. So she got back this morning from
So she lives in California with you to help you with the
She lives in New York.
Oh,
but
she
flew out to California to help out because I've been traveling.
Right. Great to see you, right? Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know your mom's proud of
Yes, she
you.
is.
Right.
Single mom. That's
Right.
not
The
easy.
one thing you have not done is toss to an anchor. When you tossed over Jillian?
Jillian? Here goes.
Look at that.
All right. Good morning to you, by the way, and congrats on all of your success. Good morning to you at home as well. Google slapped with a record-breaking $2.7 billion fine for giving itself an unfair leg up. The European Union hitting the internet search engine for abusing its position, steering customers to its own online shopping platform. The fine, the largest antitrust judgment ever, follows a 7-year investigation. Google is appealing the decision. Well, the Trump administration wasting no time getting that border wall built. The Department of Homeland Security plans to start considering prototypes this summer. At least 8 models will be reviewed on how best to secure thousands of border miles with Mexico. Some portions will be made of concrete, while others may use innovative designs like solar panels. Susan Rice lied about the Benghazi terror attack, and now she claims she's the victim. When asked why the former national security advisor became a target in the Trump administration, she told New York Magazine, quote, "I do not leap to the simple explanation that it's only about race and gender. I'm trying to keep my theories to myself until I'm ready to come out with them." President Trump has called Rice a criminal for her alleged unmasking in documents of Trump transition officials. All right, how about this? Rascal Flatts crashing a wedding, giving a Wisconsin couple the surprise of a lifetime. Take a look.
Hey, everybody. We were in the neighborhood, so we thought we'd swing over. Congratulations.